Happy Sunday morning, crypto traders. It's Sunday, 8:30 a.m., October 25th. We got the coming week ahead that will close out October. And so far, we've had some tremendous movement in the Bitcoin market. And I'm going to today discuss what else I'm seeing going into the end of the month for next week, what we should be expecting for election time, the stimulus talks that are going on, and many other great news events that have come up as catalysts, like PayPal utilizing Bitcoin. We saw Square purchasing $50 million worth of Bitcoin, and many other great things like JP Morgan pretty much shifting their posture on crypto and being a little bit more open, neutral, maybe even slightly bullish towards it. So lots of great things to talk about. Let's get to it. So first things first, I'm going to start off as always with the smaller time frame, right? Smaller time frames help us understand exactly what's happened in the market on a daily candle basis. We can identify levels within the smaller time frames that we can exclude as noise and then figure out what the real signal the market is trying to indicate to us. Okay. So on the 15-minute time frame, I like to turn on these pivots because they help me get a gauge of exactly where price is as per the pivot itself. Maybe if prices come back to the S1 like it has right here, is it bouncing off it? Is it hitting the R1, et cetera, et cetera, right? So the most obvious thing that we can kind of see here is price tapped the R2 just about yesterday night for the US time zone, and we got rejected pretty strongly. Okay, and that was right around 13,375 or something, and we got rejected strongly. Went all the way, broke down to about 12,850. So that's a good $300-400 move right there, right? We sliced right through the pivot. Now remember, this is a daily pivot, so this is not the most important pivot, but it is something noteworthy and something that we should be paying attention to. So the fact that we're under the pivot, we're finding S1 as support. The next step for BTC is to show us that it can hold this S1 and get above this pivot. If you get back above this pivot, this, in my opinion, would be a show of strength, and it could be an opportunity to potentially long. And where would you long to? Probably just back towards this R1, this 13,272 marker. Okay. If we start breaking down the S1, then I think we're probably, going to start targeting any of these lows right here, which is, maybe 12,750 or so, or as low as 12,650, somewhere around that area. Those are, again, scalp opportunities. And just to show y'all, I had presented a scalp opportunity to our Advantage members. I think this was Friday. So I wrote this Friday when this candle was being printed right here. So let me see exactly what candle that was. So that was this candle when this candle was way the heck down here. And what I stated Friday was that generally the way it works in Advantage community is we don't really do a whole lot of trading, not even a whole lot of analysis on Friday evening or Saturdays, because most of the movement, to be honest, is garbage. It's weird volatility that doesn't really make sense. It's a lot of liquidity hunting, and it's honestly a lot of lower volume movements. So to avoid that kind of movement, what we typically do on the Advantage side is we generally try to avoid Friday evenings, Saturdays, maybe even Sunday mornings, because big players like the CME players, big professional players, they're not trading on that part of the weekend. And again, that's visible through the liquidity hunting and the lack of volume. But I provided an opportunity for the Advantage members. As you can see, the long opportunity was kind of like this, which was when we were on this red candle right here. I said you could long this with a stop below this wick right here, and you could start targeting this key high, right, which was slightly above this wick. And so you could see that definitely hit over the weekend. Okay, again, if you are part of the Advantage community, kudos, if you took this trade. And then on the flip side, let's just say you missed that trade. Then I said, okay, well, I still do believe that we're going to take some liquidity above this key high and above this key high. And I stated that there's a possible shorting opportunity from here with a stop just above the high, right around like 13,400 or so. And then you should be targeting somewhere down here, maybe 12,800, maybe all the way down to about 12,600. Okay, so if you took that trade, right, you're looking solid. Again, this was mentioned Friday, as you can see. That was the trade outlook. Okay, you were going to enter around 12,000. I'm sorry, 13,285, 13,300, and then your stop would be around 13,400, and you'd start targeting, these levels below. And if you did take that trade, well, so far so good. You're in profit. We haven't hit the targets below, but so far so good. So this is the kind of information that Advantage members get, right? Some trade outlooks. Again, not something that we generally trade on the weekends, but just something for our members to look out for. Now, in the larger time, in the larger scope of things, in terms of trend, right? Because in my belief, it is honestly better to be trading with the trend. As they say, the trend is your friend till the end. Meaning, well, if you are trending in a environment like BTC, well, you should hop on that trend. Just try not to bet against it. If you are betting against it, you best be sure that you're only doing some very tight scalp trades, or at some point you best be sure that this is literally the top. And either of those things are much harder to do. Trading with the trend is much easier to do. And in fact, you can make a significantly way more money trading with the trend. Okay. So my opinion is this. I believe that Bitcoin has started, a nice bullish uptrending cycle. Okay. Um, Even in my previous videos, I stated that we're probably going to, get exhausted somewhere around this 13.2 area. And again, this is not magical numbers. I've shown you guys this before in my previous videos. It literally comes back from this key high as resistance, right? This rejection that we had on 10th July 2019. That resistance right there, that big tall wick, that's the marker that we're paying attention to. The next marker beyond that is right there around 13,920. So let's just say 14,000. Those are the only two levels to me that matter. Okay. So the way I look at price action right now is, unless price starts digging inside this area, okay, which is, from this key resistance to this key resistance, right? If price doesn't start digging inside that area, well, chances are we're going to get a bit of a pullback. And a retracement is due, in my opinion, anyway. Where exactly is a retracement going to come down to, and where am I looking? So I've mentioned this previously, right? If we're looking at a key resistance area, or rather resistance turned into support, I'd probably say somewhere around there. That's a possibility. Okay, somewhere around there. That's a possibility. And some of these levels, they're actually listed out based on the pivots as well. Okay, so first things first, you could look at this level right around 12,500. The one below is 12,160, and the one below that is the R1 previous pivot, which is around 11,966. So those are some of the deeper levels. Now, if you're looking at tighter retracements, like you may not believe that Bitcoin is going to go that deep, I think that's fair. Okay, if you don't believe that Bitcoin is going to go that deep, if you follow my liquidity hunting methodology, okay, I still do believe that if we are going to do this, so let me stretch these out a little bit further so you can see how I'm going to clearly diagnose this area. Okay, so I look at price action in ranges. Okay, let's draw this one too. Why? Because this was, the previous range high. We tried to escape it, got pulled back under, right? So at present moment, and let's get rid of this thing, okay, because we don't need that triangle anymore. So price has one range high, previous range high, and a very clearly defined range low. Okay, I hope y'all can see that clearly. Right now, as you can see, we are sitting on the previous range high right there. What does that tell us? Well, this was, in my opinion, previously capping price numerous times. Then it found support on it, boom, popped up, took off, right? And took out some key liquidity above this area. So what this tells me now is that, okay, price is trying to do its best to stay on top of this level that was previous resistance and now turning into support. If we come back inside this area, like this, say we start breaking inside this range, which is about I think the exact marker is 12,972. Again, this is BitMEX exchange. If we start doing something like this green marker, chances are we're probably heading down to take out liquidity below this area. And that's right around $12,630 or so. Okay. I don't know how deep the spike will go, but I believe that we will probably take out some liquidity below that area. Okay. Again, that's if price does something like this, comes back inside this range, starts rejecting that range. And if it starts breaking down, that's where I believe it'll go. So you're probably thinking, okay, that's great. I get to, look at these SR levels and start trading, start scalping this area. No. Like I said, Bitcoin, in my opinion, is in a trending market. Trending markets, you do not need to really scalp. If you do, it's okay. But most of the money is made if you just wait, right? If you buy this pullback where it is right now, that's one area. If you buy this pullback right here again, that's another area. If you buy this pullback right here again, that's another area. So what you should be looking for in trending markets is, first of all, ask yourself, do you agree with my thesis of that this is a trending market? If so, why would you scalp? Why would you not go for the higher percentage plays, which are buying the pullbacks? Because the market is already showing you that it has significant strength, right? Even if it dumps all the way to, let's just say, 12,100, 12,200, that is, in my opinion, a great opportunity. Because I personally believe that whether we get a pullback today, tomorrow, next week, I don't think we're stopping just here, this 13,000 area. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think Bitcoin did this reaccumulation process for a good month or so just to push up from 10,000 to 13,000. That's really not Bitcoin's MO. Okay, so the way I'm kind of looking at this is, I think this is a setup for probably a bigger bull run that's about to come. Now, a bigger bull run could just very well be maybe towards 14 or 15,000, or it could very well be towards 17, 18, or 20,000. I don't really know, but I feel a little bit more confident saying that I don't think this is the top. Okay, we might have some very rapid pullbacks, but from a structural standpoint, right? If you know anything about technicals, okay, sometimes you just got to go back to the basics. You say this was the high, this was the first low put in, this was another lower high, this was a lower low. At this point, the structure was bearish. Okay, great. Then we had, from this key low, we had a higher low, another higher low. But from this high and this lower high, we still had another lower high, another lower high. So you can see price was being squeezed in this area. Okay, price was being squeezed in this area as a triangle because it was creating these consistent higher lows, but then the pressure from the bears was coming from the top, which is lower highs. But then price expanded out of this area, flagged, expanded. Then we changed structure from, this high, lower high, and this low, lower low to higher low and higher high. That's a structural shift. This is the definition of a bullish trend. Okay, the trend of lower highs is done. All right, so now we're in higher low territory. In the higher low territory, you should assume, that pullbacks, in my opinion, should be bought up. And if you want to get into that trending market, then you should be buying the pullbacks. Again, not investment advice. I'm just saying that that's how you should be looking at the market, because the market is clearly showing you that. If you don't want to believe it, that's okay. That's your prerogative. But that's what the market is literally telling you. So at present moment, I believe that pullbacks are going to be bought because I'm going to be buying them. I know other people are going to be buying them. So altcoins, same thing. I think they're in the same boat. I said this before. right? I think BTC, this ratio right here, I think it's indicative that if this thing keeps pushing higher, I think ETH is going to start, once again, leading the market, meaning leading Bitcoin on the way up. And even if it doesn't lead, I think it's lagging right now, right? And the fact it's lagging, most people think that, okay, well, ETH is lagging behind, Bitcoin is a true king, whatever, only Bitcoin keeps going up. I don't think that's the case, my friend. I personally think that ETH right here, if you look at this marker, look at this $415 marker. Okay, I've had this marker on my chart since the 2nd of August, since this key high was being created. So we are literally flagging right under resistance. What do we say about consolidation under resistance? Consolidation like this under resistance often leads to expansion. Okay, this is whether you want to look at it as a bull flag or a consolidation, literally under the $415 marker. I believe we're looking for expansion to the upside, probably sooner rather than later. So I think the play is going to be like this. I believe that Bitcoin is going to do maybe one of two things. Okay, maybe Bitcoin doesn't destroy the liquidity down here, and maybe, whoops, I hate when I do that. Okay, let me start this again. So maybe Bitcoin doesn't destroy liquidity down here. Okay, and maybe all it does actually is, you know what, let me draw a trend line from here, something like that. Right? Maybe Bitcoin respects this trend line. Okay, and we start, pressing up higher and higher from here. It's possible that BTC gets towards, I don't know, 13,500, maybe 14,000, and alts pull back a little bit. And ETH comes back to retest the top of this triangle right here as support, bounces off, because remember, as BTC goes up, okay, alts do have a bit of a pullback, all right, especially when Bitcoin aggressively moves up. So that's one scenario. Bitcoin from here, okay, Bitcoin from here starts pressing up towards 13,500, maybe 14,000 up here. Okay, that's one possibility. In which case, like I said, I would expect alts to pull back. Okay, but then once Bitcoin gets towards that 14,000 level, well, then I believe that I think that's at least an area to consolidate a little bit, maybe chop around, maybe even have very sharp pullback back towards from 13,000 or 14,000 down to 12.5, 12.7, something like that. Get people really scared. In which case, again, I'd see ETH quick spike down, recover this pivot, and then maybe start pushing back up. Because I think in the next cycle, whenever that cycle starts, where Bitcoin consolidates, pulls back, whatever, I believe alts are due to play catch up. And so if alts are playing catch up, my first go-to is Ethereum. Okay. We are in a long position in ETH on the advantage side. So I believe ETH will probably be my first pick, okay, to watch the market start pressing up higher. Because ETH has generally been very, very good at following in the footsteps of Bitcoin, and it's really not that far behind generally. The next one I'm paying attention to is Link. All right, I believe that Link is probably due for a nice, push up as well. Probably going to this red box right here, anywhere between 13 and 1340. But then I don't know what happens from there. I don't know if Link is going to be able to have enough strength to break through this area and push up higher, or if it just gets rejected, then comes back down a little bit deeper towards, the top of this triangle, this pivot, that's somewhere around $11.50, $11, and then maybe it starts pushing up, I don't know, middle of November or something like that. Okay, just some areas to pay attention to, right? Because I don't know if these things are going to play out the way I'm looking at it, but I'm giving you guys scenarios. Okay, the other scenario is that BTC chops around this area, up and down and up and down for, I don't know, another half a week, another week. Well, then that gives altcoins, in my opinion, a nice breather to start pressing up higher. Link and ETH, I would then expect quite possibly, at least for length, push towards 1350. And it starts breaking through that, then I think everything is all clear till about 1550, $60, $16. Okay. Same thing with ETH. I'd be looking at ETH to start getting towards after 415. My next big target is 440. And beyond that, I'm looking all the way up here, 480 to $500. Okay. So that's kind of how I'm looking at, altcoins. Because if we're looking at the ETH BTC ratio, well, we're coming back to this, this curved trend line. And I like to draw these because, in my opinion, if you find these and they're working, well, they're generally going to work until they don't anymore. It's possible that maybe they stop working literally right here. But I'm going to assume that from here, ETH BTC climbs in its ratio. Okay, because it has every time it's tapped this trend line, right? This first touch, second touch establishes that trend line, third touch confirms it. Now we're looking for that fourth touch to bounce the price. Okay. We also have this coming week, right? We have a ton of options expiring. Okay, $750 million in notional value. So I would expect a little bit of choppiness, a little bit of volatility till the price is being pinned from bigger players in the market into a specific area where either one player or multiple players can make the most money, or they can squeeze out other people, from losing the most money and closing out positions. This is how price pinning actually happens. Okay, where what you really have is a cluster of contracts, in, let's just say, you have calls for $14,000, meaning you're thinking that BTC is going to get to $14,000 by the end of this coming week. And then you have puts for $12,000 for the end of this coming week. And so if you have calls for 14,000, right, and you have puts for 12,000 down here, where does price get pinned? Well, more often than not, sometimes it gets pinned in this area right here. That would make the most sense because it reduces the effectiveness of these calls and these puts. So this way, both sides, they can kind of pin price in the middle and not lose too much money. Because remember, people who are having calls up here and puts up here, they also have hedges on both sides, or they sometimes are able to sell volatility. There's all these different plays that you can have in options, but in any case, I expect price to be pinned somewhere in the middle. Again, that's an example. I don't necessarily know if 14,000 calls and 12,000 puts are the heaviest, volume traded contracts, but I'm just illustrating an example. All right. Let me see here. Covered that. Let's cover Bitcoin dominance real quick. Okay. So dominance wise, right? Again, I stated that this was a few days ago. I expected some choppiness, some resistance in this purple block area, and then of course this purple line that you see coming down, that's the 200 moving average. And historically, going across the board, Bitcoin has faced that moving average and tried to utilize that support or resistance. So I was kind of expecting, some form of resistance right here at the 200 moving average. And if so, right, again, this is the area. If we get a bit of a pullback in Bitcoin dominance, well, and that means that alts are going to pick back up. If Bitcoin dominance pushes up and Bitcoin price pushes up, alts are probably going to get crushed. Okay. I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that alts are in a position that they're going to get completely wrecked. I think it's more so that we might consolidate in this area, maybe even pull back in dominance a little bit, pull back in price, allow altcoins to push up. That's been my thesis for the last, week and a half, 2 weeks now. And I'm sticking by it unless I see one of two things, right? I see dominance climb up and price climb up, okay? Or I see dominance climb up, but then price go down, because you could still have Bitcoin push up and dominance go up, but you could also have dominance push up and price go down. And when that happens, it's possible that Bitcoin is moving down at a relatively lower percentage, but then alts are really getting crushed. And we've seen situations like that, right? Where altcoins are pulling back with BTC, but at a significant higher percentage. And so in situations like that, that still makes me a little bit weary. Okay. Um, that's pretty much it, folks. I'm going to be doing a video with Fassel in about a couple hours. Make sure you guys check out his video from yesterday, Bounce Back in Energy, Financial, and Bailout Stocks, if you are interested in learning about how he views the stock markets and trades it. And yeah, until then, I'll catch up with y'all later. Hit the thumbs up. Leave us a comment of your thoughts. Join the Advantage membership. Yeah, till then, catch y'all later. Cheers.